In the bulletin on a sad note, and almost all children who died in the Dumpase accident Tuesday dawn have been identified. 29, including a one-year-old boy, died on the spot, while 5 died later at the hospital. 54 survivors are still on admission at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, receiving treatment. Family members have been trooping into the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital to identify their relatives. Here's the scene there this morning.
So they just checked, and then this woman has seen that they've lost a relative. Their relative is part of the dead. He said that was their last born. And it's a hefty blow for her. She cannot even control herself.
Heartbreaking scenes. Then our heart go out to the families. Richard Kojo has been speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital on the condition of the 54 on admission.
From yesterday to today, we have been trying to manage the mass casualty that occurred on the Takoradi Cape Coast stretch. And you know, around between 12 and 1 o'clock, we had a call from an observer that there was an accident, and we quickly mobilized our resources to contain the situation. You are aware that 30 people came in that we classified as walking injured, and we treated and discharged. 26 had to be admitted because they were moderately to severely injured. Out of that, we had to admit one to the ICU who died shortly after the admission. 5 were brought in dead, and they were brought to the mortuary. And then the police also reported about 28 bodies that had died. So together, we had a total of about 34 bodies in our mortuary that we initiated administrative processes and legal processes to get the bodies identified. And then, you know, they're all coroner's inquest, and the coroner will have to give us the necessary directives as to how to proceed. So from yesterday to today, we have been managing mass casualty. The 25 that are remaining are fine. The ones in the body are in the process of body identification and coroner inquest documentation to go through. And then as and when we get the clearance from the coroner, the bodies will be released to the deceased family. I think that we have seen that the Honorable Regional Minister has sent the Deputy Minister. He wanted to be here himself, but he's in a very important meeting in Accra. And the Deputy Minister has come to represent him and the government as a whole. And what is left for us to do is to ensure that we manage the end part of the whole process successfully. Well, it was a bad day for the entire nation. For some of us, a national disaster. Getting infants, we have a record of 3 die out of these accidents and displaced at the mortuary. Is a very traumatic incident, especially for those families that will have to walk through the bodies to identify their own. It's a traumatic situation. We've gotten our psychologists to get involved in this whole processes to encourage and then to help the families overcome the traumatic situation that they are living.
So what are the decisions that are going to be taken at this moment and the moment thereafter? Because I have seen some family members pressuring that their bodies should be released to them.
At this moment, we are hastening the processes of the coroner to get the clearance to release the bodies. And then, as government representative, we'll be looking at the financial issues with regards to the fees that the families are supposed to pay, and then probably waive them off. Those who came through the accident and emergency in accordance to policy, national policy on managing emergencies, have been treated without any financial cost to them. That's what the policy says, that we should treat regardless of the ability to pay, and we have done that. So we'll be gathering the necessary documentation and reporting as such when everything is over to our board, the governing board, and then the Ministry of Health.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you too.
Meanwhile, Minister for Railway Development, who is also Member of Parliament for Sikado-Ketten, is advocating a rapid development of the rail sector to cut down on needless road carnage. Mr. Garte was visiting his constituents who were part of the victims of that accident.
It's a day after the accident, and we have people pouring in to come and identify whether their relatives are part of those who are living or they are part of the dead. Incidentally, we have the Member of Parliament for Sikado-Ketten, who is here, Minister for Railways. He's here. I don't know what has brought him here. Good morning.
Good morning.
What has indeed brought you here?
The accident. I mean, one of the people passed away is financial secretary, constituency, one of the constituency officers, Makonde Haja. Very good woman. She lives in Kojokro. We went. We noticed how hardworking she was in a party in Kojokro. Then she became a polling station chairperson. And then we elevated her to the position of financial secretary. She was a selfless person. She used not just her time, but also her money. And it wasn't only politics. She was a stalwart in the society. She did a lot for people. From the reports I hear yesterday, the crowds of people went to her house, the reaction. It shows that she was doing things for people that even others didn't know. She's a very kind person. She was a businesswoman. And in fact, when the day of the accident, I talked to her in the evening. She was querying me. She queries me a lot. I mean, she's also the kind of person who, every politician needs people who can tell you when you're doing something wrong. So she said, why didn't you come during the weekend? And I said, I couldn't come because there were some other things I had to do in Accra. When are you coming? I said, I'm coming this weekend. Then she told me that she was in a bus going to Takoradi, but she came to Accra. So I said to her also that, why didn't you come and look for me? She said, I'm too busy. When she comes to Accra, she'll come to my office, I'm too busy. But the next time she comes, she'll look for me. And that was it. The next thing I heard was that this accident happened. First, I heard she survived. Then they told me that she had passed away. She was a good person. And so today, cabinet is being held today. Usually cabinet is held on Thursday, but today the president brought it forward for certain reasons. And you cannot, as it were, excuse yourself on cabinet. I mean, the president takes it very serious. We take it very serious because by the constitution, it's our duty to assist the president. Every 2 weeks we meet in order to think about Ghana, the country that the people of Ghana has given to us in trust for them, to serve them. But when I told the president yesterday about what has happened, he immediately said to me that you must go. And so I told him I can't come to cabinet today. And he immediately said to me that you must go. That's why I'm here today. And we are here to, I don't know what to say again. Because her children are here. I don't know what to say again. She's always around, very calm person, calming influence, on the party. She was like an elder. She was part of the council executive, she was younger than me by a number of years, but at the same time, she was somebody who would tell you that this, what you are doing, don't do this, why are you doing this, and so on. So we've lost the party. The country, her family have lost a stalwart. The stalwart. It's indeed regrettable. her children, I know her family, her husband. I don't know what else to say.
So this has something to do with transportation and all of that, and you are responsible for it. Do you think that we should tilt our energies towards the rail sector? That would be more safer than using our roads?
I've made that point several times. I mean, about 98% of our transport is by road. Perhaps just now the plane is taking a little now. I mean, that statistic maybe has changed a bit because of the fact that today there's the plane going up and down. But our roads are too many road accidents. You know, I'm not going to blame anybody or anything like that. But the train is much safer, and I think we are doing our best. And it is my hope that in a few years to come, we can go back to the old days we came to meet, where you can sit in a train from Accra to Takoradi and not always take a car for these long distances, which sometimes end up in the way we are just seeing. So we are doing our best. I don't think today is a day for me to extol the virtues of railway. I think that will be.
Still on this story, road safety expert Tiso Gabra is meanwhile calling for an audit of transport companies among other measures to curb road carnage. He spoke a while ago on Newsdesk.
If I look at the nature of the accident, it's just one particular thing, which is speed, okay? And I always say, as a road safety expert, that if you are driving at 60 kilometers and then you crash, right, you will not have fatalities, honestly. You just have minor injuries. If the speed is beyond 60 and goes to 80, 100, 120, then it means that you're going to have a lot of deaths. And this is exactly what has happened. If I judge the speed of the two vehicles, and this is a head-on collision, I'll say they're traveling at the speed of 120, 130 kilometers per hour. And obviously speaking, this will bring a lot of deaths, okay? The faster you go, the much more it is for you to stop your vehicle, because in driving we have something we call driving, we have stopping distances. And the faster you go, it makes it very difficult to stop your vehicle, okay? And then we have a thinking distance as well. However, in this case, it's really a sad occasion for all of us to see 34 people perish. Right, what next? What can we do to save the situation is what I want to talk about now. That if you look at the LI 2180, it says we need to fix speed limiters to control speed of vehicles with a particular tonnage, especially buses. Right, have we done it? We have failed as a country. We haven't done it. We need to do it now. We don't have to waste any more time, because it is not the vehicle, it is not the passenger, it is always the driver's fault. We don't blame it on the road. If the road is not good, what you have to do as a driver, you just have to slow down and drive carefully so that you save lives. Here you are, the accident occurred at 12 midnight. Right, and I always use this nice example as my security man on duty in the evening will sleep, because God has created us that during the day we work, in the evening we should sleep. So if you have a security and a security man comes in the evening, he's going to sleep. Now, comparing this to driving, obviously, daytime is much more easier.
Let's get the very latest on this with Richard Kojonyak, who has been following the story from the very beginning. Richard, what more do we know now? Richard, what more do we know now?
Well, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, you're there.
Okay, so the hospital is being flooded by a lot of people from the western region. Many of the people that came were from the Kikado Kepen constituency, and indeed one of the MPP executive there also lost the life. She's known popularly as Hajia, and so the MP for the area, Joe Gate, who is also the Railway Development Minister, also came to commiserate with the family. He actually came with family members, children of Hajia, and the situation here is very, very worrying. It's just like someone coming to check the results of an examination he or she has written. You go there and you pray that your relative should be part of the living. If the person is not part of the living, then you have to go through a torturous experience of walking among dead bodies in order to identify who really is your relative or something. And it's such a traumatic experience, and that is why the hospital here, they have employed the services of psychologists to come and then deal with the situation as well. Apart from that, let's tell the story of the 6-year-old. The 6-year-old has been able to identify the brother. The brother also sustained some injuries at the upper part of the arm, and so they are both going through some treatment, but unfortunately, their mother, their father, and their 8-month-old sibling also lost their lives. So they are lying in the morgue as we speak. There is another story of a woman who survived, but unfortunately, 2 of the children died in this gory accident. And so it tells you how difficult and traumatic the experience has been for the people here. People are wailing uncontrollable here. They've been telling us about their relationship with the deceased and all of that. So Daniel, it's been one traumatic experience today.
I can't imagine how terrible it must be for those family members. But take me back to that 6-year-old. How old is his elder brother?
So the elder brother is between 9 and 8. That is the age the hospital official gave us. And,
have any family members come to identify them and claim them?
Now we do not have knowledge of family members coming, but there is one worker who used to work with his father, and he showed up because apparently he called the dad's number and wasn't going through, and so he had to follow it up here. And then that is the only source of relation we know now. We were told that the 8-month-old was sitting on the lap.
Unfortunately, we've lost contact with Richard Kojunyako. Heartbreaking story. He tells us there that a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old have now been orphaned because their mother and their father have passed away. One person has been confirmed dead and 6 others in critical condition in a dawn collision between an urban commercial vehicle and a tipper truck at Abreport in Kumasi. A middle-aged woman traveling with her daughter died, and 6 others are receiving treatment at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, Kath. Erastus Asaridonko joins us with details of that one. Erastus, what happened?
Well, so we are talking about a side collision between an urban commercial bus and a tipper truck carrying a load of sand at Abreport highways. Remember, the Barakese Abreport Junction Road has been closed to traffic because of an ongoing construction of a bridge. And so currently they are using one intersection towards Macro, and this is where the accident occurred. This is the 3rd in a series of accidents on at that particular area since we began this year. The middle-aged woman who was traveling with the daughter died instantly when the urban bus collided with the tipper truck. We are told that the urban bus was traveling at top speed from the Macro end to join the main intersection, and that is where he crashed with a tipper truck. So right now we have both vehicles full of blood deposited at the Swami police station. 6 of the injured are currently receiving treatment at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital.
Have any family members come to the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital?
Yes, the word has been going around, and so some few people have come looking for their relatives. But you have the vehicle owners who are now coming to the Swami police station. The driver of the tipper truck has been arrested. He's in custody according to police. But the other driver fled the scene of the accident.
Thank you very much, Erastus Asaridonko, for that update. Let's move from road accidents, but stay with healthcare, because he thought his wife was about to die. So after taking her to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, he absconded. For close to a month, the hospital had to bear the cost of treating his wife, who is now their patient. The hospital succeeded in treating the woman, but it had to make up a story to enable her husband to come for her. Let's get more.
Yes, I was sharing with you the story. In one occasion, we have a patient coming from ONG, Obstetric and Gynecology Department. She was coming with this eclampsia. Eclampsia means during the pregnancy, at the end, the patient started with convulsion, the BP was coming higher. She started developing some problem with to make urine and all these complications in relationship with the eclampsia. And later on we have to fix her on mechanical ventilation for a while. And later, in one moment we have to request for the family to buy plenty medications. I know it was expensive. And so long, maybe they saw the patient almost going to die, and they decided to don't come again to see the patient. It was more than 3 weeks, any family, any relative was coming to check on her. In this case, the husband, because the husband was the first family member that we saw. When the patient was coming better, I was able for us to send her to the ward, but all this time we have to buy for her the food. When she started eating, we have to bring the clothes for her to wear, shoes, and the only idea that we did was call the husband to tell him that the lady was dead. And this was the only way that the family came together to collect this. They supposed to collect the body. They was coming thinking that maybe they was coming to collect the body from the morgue. And at that time we had to show to them the lady fully recovered.
What was the woman's reaction, the patient's reaction?
Oh, the patient, they started fighting with the husband and started shouting on him by magic. Okay. We didn't get another. At that moment, for me, it was difficult because I was thinking, okay, at this point, what we can do? Because, you know.
Did you have to get him to pay some of the bills? And did he ever pay?
No, at the end, the family has to pay the bill because if they don't pay,
they can't
no, normally when the patient die, when the patient die is, I think, it's painful, but it's easy because normally they are coming to pay the bill because they know already that when they are coming to prepare the funeral, they are going to collect some money back from this funeral issue. Sometimes when the patient dies, it's not difficult for them. Sometimes they are coming to beg, oh please, the bill is so high, but they can go around and maybe 2-3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, but normally they are coming back to pay the bill and collect the money from them.
Now, Medical Director at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Dr. Emmanuel Srofenyo, said the phenomenon is draining the hospital's coffers. He encourages members of the public to subscribe to the National Health Insurance Scheme to reduce the cost burden of seeking health care.
Sometimes we have patients who have no national health insurance. They don't have any card. They are rushing by their relatives. And then as we begin, because we have an open door service, so as we begin to provide service, then we see that all the relatives are gone. And when we need any medications, because they are not on any national health insurance, we have to use the hospital's resources, medications, and even if the patient needs to undergo surgery, we use the hospital's resources to do all these things. And then when eventually the patient is discharged, then the patient's relatives are not coming to discharge the patient home. This is very rampant of late. I will just give one example of a little girl who was rushing by somebody who claimed he's a good Samaritan. The girl was pregnant, and so after we managed her and looked after her, we delivered her. She needed cesarean section. We did all that. And after we discharged her, she couldn't even go home. For about 3-4 days, she was still on the ward. So we asked our social welfare officer to go and investigate. And it came out that she stays somewhere in Akachi. So we have to follow up to the place and then got in touch with the families. And the families to say they don't have any resources. So we have to transport, even using our own resources, transport her to Akachi to unite her with the family. So these are some of the functions that we are now having to perform because people either do not have national health insurance or do not have money to pay for their health care directly. So it is becoming a significant inroad into the hospital's resources. There are times that
Now, JoyNews investigations have uncovered how Ghana lost thousands of cedis after confiscated cars were auctioned cheaply by politically connected individuals. At least in one case, the duty on a vehicle was captured to have been paid for by the office of the president. These vehicles are part of 151 confiscated cars that the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Esiedu-Ekwe, wrote to the Ghana Revenue Authority to be allocated to selected beneficiaries. Investigative journalist Kwetinate reports that in one instance, only 25,000 cedis was paid on a vehicle when the estimated duty ought to have been 80,000 Ghana cedis.
The 2004 VW Touareg. This confiscated vehicle was allocated to one Charles Nite Kotete. A quick online inquiry shows the import duty on this vehicle should range between 63,000 and 88,000, but it was auctioned at just about 25,000. The beneficiary provided a cover letter issued by the Office of the President of Ghana. To verify this, we sent the chassis number of the vehicle to the GRA short code 1477. It returned the make and model of the vehicle as VW Touareg and the importer as the Office of the President with a duty of 25,381 Ghana cedis paid. This amount is just about 1/3 of the estimated duty. But this is contrary to the provisions of the Customs Act 2015, which stipulates that, quote, the price at which a forfeited motor vehicle is disposed of, whether by auction, sale, allocation, or any other method, should include the duty and eligible taxes on the motor vehicle.
You go through the same process of clearance, so you pay the access duty, and then you go ahead and pay your demurrage, all the taxes, all the levies, all charges, prior to release from the ports.
The GRA platform shows no taxes were paid on the vehicle. Head of auction at the GRA, Prince Akwabwa, tells JoyNews his office's interest is not in who exploited the system, but whether duties were paid on the vehicle.
Office of the President.
Yes.
I think that one was allocation.
Okay.
Yes. It presupposes that a letter was received with the name Office of the President. And then when we sat on it as a committee, the letter, in fact, emphasis is not given on the name, but it surfaced that it is one of the letters considered for allocation. So we allocated the vehicle as such, and then the access duty was paid.
By normal terms, must Office of the President pay duty on a vehicle that it wants to use?
You know, Office of the President is big. So somebody writes a letter and puts Office of the President there. We are not after the name. We want somebody who can afford and who can pay the access duty. So once this letter is received, and even Office of the President who receive it, so the emphasis is not on the name. The emphasis is whether the duty was paid. And according to our checks, the duty has been paid, and it was paid by an individual.
But the duty paid was far less than what was supposed to be paid on the 2004 VW Touareg. This is not the only confiscated vehicle on which taxes were not paid. A 2010 Lexus wagon was allocated to one Daniel Akologo. The estimated duty on such a vehicle is 51,000 Ghana cedis. But it was auctioned to Cecilia Kofi at 30,000 Ghana cedis, representing a shortfall of more than 20,000 cedis. In another deal, a 2012 Hyundai Sonata was allocated to one Alexander Jedu. 16,000 Ghana cedis was paid by one Nana Kwame Ajare to the GRA on the vehicle when the estimated duty was 27,000 cedis. In this case too, the 16,000 Ghana cedis paid covered the duty. Out of the 5 vehicles sampled from the 151 confiscated cars allocated, the state could have lost an estimated duty of 130,000 Ghana cedis based on checks from the online platform duty calculator. This practice, our investigation showed, was widespread when we examined all the 151 vehicles the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Asiedu-Bekwin, requested to be allocated on the 20th of December 2017. His letter to the Commissioner General of the GRA read in part, quote, "I hereby write for the consideration of the attached list of vehicles with their chassis numbers to be allocated to the corresponding names. Your usual cooperation in this regard is highly anticipated." Unquote. This request was also made on a letterhead claiming to be from the office of the President. The request was sought when Mr. Bekwin was head of the Confiscated Assets Committee. Head of auction at the GRA, Prince Akwabwa, explains that members of this committee are not supposed to make allocations. Their duty is to monitor the process.
But the fact is that if you come to Section 59 of the Customs Act 2015 Act 891, it made it clear that goods confiscated are confiscated to the state. So therefore, the state has a duty to monitor and then the disposal of those goods. So the confiscated secretariat comes in to monitor how those goods are disposed of.
So if I'm a member of the confiscated committee, my job only is to monitor. I can't allocate.
Never. Never. No allocation is done by the confiscated secretariat.
He explains how his unit deals with influential persons who apply for vehicles to be allocated to them.
We have a way of scrutinizing the letters to decipher which one is of merit. And then you can also come to the auction grounds, and the days are advertised in daily papers. You come to the auction grounds. In fact, for some reason, customs don't do the auction, the public auction. So, as you indicated, I cannot guarantee you I cannot guarantee you that you can. Once you apply, you will definitely get.
JoyNews contacted the Director of Political Affairs at the Chief of Staff's office, Frank Asiedu-Bekwin, for his comments on the matter. He declined to speak. Kwete Nate's report for JoyNews.
Still live on JoyNews today. Coming up in business, we take a look at quail farming as demand for quail eggs increase. Daryl Kwao has the details.